friends. We're finally done with spring break. I hope that you enjoyed your spring break, and I definitely did, but I missed you guys so much. Okay, so I have a few things to go over about how this week is going to look, and then I will get into everything. Okay, so with our CKLA stuff, we've just been doing the grammar, right? You've just been practicing and learning new skills. Well, I found out that we have to do the reading, okay? We have to do the book. If you remember, right before we left school, we started reading The War of 1812. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back. We're going to start back at the very first story of that today. And this week, we're going to catch ourselves up with our reading to where it goes with our grammar. You know how every day when we're in school, we have like a story and we have like a grammar lesson, like our adverbs and stuff like that. Well, since we've been doing our grammar, we've done the Bossy R, which is phonics. We've done Bossy R, we've done adverbs, we practice adjectives again, stuff like that. We're going to catch our reading up with that, if that makes sense. So that's what we're going to do this week. Miss Stewart has uploaded the reader onto your Google Classroom. So you're going to be able to look at the whole book in like a file, okay? Other than that, so today we're going to start reading that and we're going to catch up this week on that stuff. And then next week we'll go into having it as normal as possible. Miss Stewart's going to work that out. And that's about it. Remember, we're starting to count things for a grade again. I missed you guys a lot. And let's get started with what we're doing. So today, all we're going to do, let me see, make this small. Okay, all we're going to do today is we're going to read our, that first story from the War of 1812 again, okay? So, well, that's what we're going to do first. Let me read it to you, and then I'll fill you in on what you're going to do next. That means you have to watch this whole video to find out what you're going to do next. You have to listen to the whole story to find out what you're going to do at the end, what other assignment you have to do today. Because I noticed some of you guys don't watch the video all the way through, so we're going to have to start figuring out how we're going to make us watch it all the way through. I know that they're not always super exciting. Miss Stewart tries to make them exciting, but it's kind of hard from my house. And plus today Miss Stewart is not feeling great. So it's not going to be the most exciting, but still, you have to hold on and wait until the end of the video to find out what else you have to do. So, okay, so we're just going to reread that first story. So if you see, I have the War of 1812. I'm going to change it to the War of 1812 reader so that you know that that's what that is. Okay, so you'll see that it's going to come up tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to pull it up and I'm going to scroll. Look. It's just like your book. You have your table of contents and everything. So when we have our table of contents, we know that we can go and look and see, okay, the War of Introduction to the War of 1812 is on page 2, and we can go down and look in the corner, just like if you were to have your regular book, it will say page 2, right? Okie dokie. So let's go down to Trouble with the British. Okay, you guys, Trouble with the British. So I want you to just follow along, and then you can actually, after you listen to Miss Stewart read it, you can go back and read it on your own in the file that I posted, just like the reader. Okay, so chapter 1, Trouble with the British. In 1812, James Madison had a hard choice to make. Many Americans were angry with the British. Some of them were saying the United States should declare war on Great Britain, but others disagreed. They said the United States should not go to war. Madison was president of the United States. He had decided what to do. Should he ask U.S. Congress to declare war, or should he try and keep the peace? And remember, this is a picture of James Madison, right? Do you remember our timeline in our classroom? He was the 4th president of the United States, and he was on there. Okay. At the time, Great Britain was already at war with France. The two countries had been fighting for years. Most of the countries in Europe were involved in the war. Some sided with the British, others sided with the French. The French were led by a man named Napoleon. He was a brave leader. He had beaten the British in a number of battles. Still, the British kept fighting. And then this is a picture of Napoleon, okay? So he was the leader of the French, okay? The United States tried to stay out of this big war. At first, most Americans did not care to get involved. American traders wished to trade with both Great Britain and France, but this led to problems. When United States ships traded with the British, the French got upset. They did not want Americans trading with their enemies. When the United States ships traded with the French, the British got upset for the same reason. Sometimes British ships would stop American ships to keep them from trading with the French. Sometimes French ships would stop American ships to keep them from trading with the British. The Americans had problems with both the French and the British. As time went on, the problems with the British increased. And so they have some pictures to help you understand this. And so today we read this story. Tomorrow we're going to go back over this story, okay, guys? So I know this is a lot of information to come at you over a video with Miss Seward, not with you in person, but don't stress out about it because tomorrow we're really going to dive deep into this text. So it has a picture of King George, and remember he's the leader of Great Britain, and Napoleon is the leader of France, and it says the British and the French were at war. All right. The British had a strong army and an even stronger navy. But serving in the British Navy was a hard job. Some people quit, others ran away. This was a problem for the British. They needed all the men that they could get. How else could they defeat the French? The British spent a lot of time looking for men who had run off. From time to time, they would stop American ships. British officers would come on deck to look for British men. They would grab men and force them to serve in the British Navy. This was called impressment. The British said they only took British men who had run away, but they were not always careful. Sometimes they grabbed Americans. Stories about men taken by the British were printed in the papers. How do you think that Americans felt when they read them? They felt angry. Some of them felt the United States needed to fight back. They said the United States needed to declare war on Great Britain. And so they have another picture next showing you what the impressment looks like, right? It told us back up here in the story, if you go back and look, that the British spent a lot of time, I'm going to highlight, can I highlight this? No. Right here. The British spent a lot of time looking for men who had run off. From time to time, they would stop American ships. British officers would come on deck to look for British men. They would grab men and force them to serve in the British Navy. This was called impressment. So when they were taking men and forcing them to be in their navy, that was called impressment, okay? They would like hijack the ships and take some of their men. So they're showing you a picture of what that looks like. Impressment was one problem, but there were other problems. Many in the United States were also upset with the British for trading with Native Americans. In 1812, most Americans were farmers. At first, most farmers had homes near the East Coast, but then when the country began to grow, people went west. Remember we talked about never eat soggy waffles. I'm trying to do it for you, but I can't remember if it goes backwards. So if we had the whole United States, right? They're all living on this side. It's talking about they're starting to move out, okay? They're starting to spread out. So they settled in places far from the coast. They set up farms. They planted crops. There was just one problem. There were already people living there. The settlers were moving onto land where Native Americans hunted and made their homes. Native Americans did not like this. There were many fights between the settlers and the Native Americans. And then showing you a picture of people doing westward expansion, right? They're all starting to move west, like I said. The British controlled Canada. They sent traders south from Canada to trade with Native Americans. These traders sold all sorts of things to Native Americans. The British said that they had the right to trade with the Native Americans, but lots of people in the United States did not see it that way. They said the British were helping Native Americans attack American settlers. They felt the need to fight back. You can see there were many reasons for Americans to be angry with the British, but there are also good reasons for not declaring war. A war causes death, wrecks towns, and costs a lot of money. Plus, Americans felt like the British would not be easy to defeat. President Madison and the men in Congress would have to think long and hard about declaring war. And you have another picture of James Madison when he's thinking long and hard, okay? So, that was chapter 1. It's kind of a long read, like I said, so what we're going to do is that Miss Seward is going to, tomorrow, really, in a video, really deep dive into that text, okay? We're going to kind of close read it and figure out what we're going to do and figure out really what that text is telling us, right? So I want you to make sure that you really pay attention to me reading that story. If you didn't pay attention, go back and watch it again, or read it to yourself, or read it to your mom or your brother or your sister, or have somebody read it to you. But I want you to really go through and read that text so you, tomorrow, when we deep dive into it, you understand what's happening. As for today, your assignment, your secret assignment that I told you had to wait until the end to do, let me make this big. All you have to do is I want you to comment on the post for today, where I put it on the front screen, okay? On where it says stream, and I'll say happy Monday, and I'll tell you what to do. On that comment, I want you to comment your favorite thing that you did over spring break. I know that we're all quarantined, so a lot of us are just at home. But tell me your favorite thing that you did, even if it's just that you colored a picture, okay? I want you to tell me your favorite thing that you did over spring break so that I know that you watched this whole video. Okay, I love you guys. I will talk to you later, and I can't wait for tomorrow to deep dive into that cool story. Okay, mwah, love you guys.